All right, we're recording. So this is our women's empowerment event virtually. And right now it's Andrea and I. So hopefully people join in. And if they can't, that's okay. Now, originally I was thinking, oh man, like it's just Andrea and I, not just Andrea, but it's Andrea and I. Maybe I shouldn't do this, right? But no, it's okay. We're going to do this anyways because timing sometimes is not good for people. And, we figured out. So I have some notes that I'm going to look at because if I don't look at notes, then I will ramble forever. And we have like 30 minutes of this Zoom block of time. Okay. So, most of you know me. I'm Kristen Rumley. I'm a mom of 3 boys. I have 2 stepkids, and I'm a wife of my sexy Viking, who is sitting not too far from me and probably is rolling his eyes at me. We live outside of San Antonio on 20 acres. It's beautiful hill country. We do a lot of like survival shooting events here, and it's really, really great. It's really like peaceful. We kind of run a bubble, which is nice. So just a little background on me. I am an LCSW licensed clinical social worker. I've been doing it for almost 17 years, which is crazy because when I think about it, I feel like it's only been like 2, not 17. Andrea is also an LCSW. So Andrea, I don't know if you kind of feel the same way. Like it's been a long time, actually. It's crazy. I've done all kinds of things, except I don't take people's kids and I don't deal with any of that at all. That's just not what I do. I also worked in the military for 8 years. I've worked in the prison system. I've always loved my job. And right now I'm a civilian. I do director of psychological health as my position, but I'm also a Beachbody coach. And I love that part too, because I do health and wellness coaching with people. So a lot of people kind of say, aren't you like a life coach? And in a way, maybe sometimes, but that's okay. I love what I do. I love just everything about it. So anyways, I am really passionate about helping people connect with themselves so that they feel empowered. And so when I work with people, even in a therapeutic session, setting, a lot of what I do is empowerment, really. It's helping someone feel like they are connected enough with themselves to use their voice. So what kind of motivated me to do this is the seminar here is when we got close to December and everyone was kind of posting I can't wait to 2017. It's a new me. I'm going to start fresh. I also saw an overwhelming struggle with mindset. Just kind of an overwhelming theme of maybe some people who are struggling with who they were, like knowing who they were, feeling like things they went through maybe brought them down, those kind of things. And so I thought, I'm really passionate about that we can overcome our own personal challenges and be empowered by them. So I thought I wanted to kind of do like a little seminar thing. So anyone who's watching, I really appreciate the support. So as we're talking, I want you to think about what drives you, okay? What motivates you, and what gets you out of bed in the morning. I want you to think about why not me, okay? So why not me has been a big, huge motivating factor for me over the last few months. So like, think to yourself, why can't I be blank? Okay, so whatever your blank is. So why can't I be happy? Or why can't I be successful? Whatever that blank is. Because honestly, we deserve that blank. We're capable of that blank. And so while we're kind of talking here, I want you to think about that. So the things I'm going to kind of touch on is something I call Stinkin Thinking. I really think it's important to look at our thinking, the power of limit setting, our mindset, and then empowerment, okay? So I'm originally from the outside of Philadelphia area, so I talk really fast. So I hope that's not too bad for anybody. And if Andrea, if you have questions, please feel free to ask, okay? No hesitation. Okay, so let's first talk about like our beliefs. Where do we get our belief system from? Where do we get those core beliefs? A lot of it is from how we were raised. So like our home environment, our interactions with others. Was there conflict? Was there conflict between the interactions of other people in our home environment? That is a really big deal on how we get our belief system from. It doesn't mean that we conform to that belief system, but it means that it just influences us in a way. I want to say one thing though. Who influenced us growing up? I've done a lot of reading, and as women, we are strongly influenced by the woman or women in our lives growing up. And I'm going to give you an example. And my mom might kill me for saying this, but she won't actually, because my mom loves me and she knows I say what I feel is appropriate. So when we grow up, we are really influenced by, let's say, our mother figure. And that influences our body image, how we view women, like being a woman, being a female, and how our role is, like female, male, that kind of thing. I see Rachel's getting ready to join us, and I'm really excited. So, for example, growing up, and my mom is going to be 67 in a couple weeks. My mom has never felt really good about her body. Oh, hold on. Let me take this. I have a Mac and I'm just like learning how to use this. So my mom has never felt confident in her body. So growing up, she was always dieting. And actually most of the women in my life were dieting. They were never happy with their bodies. They felt that they were never good enough with their bodies. And so when I started realizing this as an adult, and I probably started realizing this maybe 6 years ago, that I don't want to think that way. Like I don't want to be 60 years old and hate my body. You know, I don't want to. I want to feel comfortable in my own skin. And a lot of that comes from the parent in our life, the mom in our life, or maybe if, you know, we didn't have a mom, the woman in our life, maybe how she viewed her body. You know, like, I'm not saying this is 100% of the time, but it just has a big factor in it. Just think about that. Think about maybe how that translates to your own experience. So that's an influence in how we think. Our life experiences play a role in how we think. So that could be good and bad. That could be if we experience things like awards. Let's say I ran track, you know, I got medals. But let's say there's bad experiences, you know. I hope, is my internet okay, Andrea? It's saying it's unstable right now.
Well, it went a little weird, but it's fine.
Okay. Whew. So if there's a trauma growing up, that can influence our thinking. And I'm not going to get into a lot of depth about that, but it can influence our worldview. So for example, if I went through trauma, I might think that all people are bad, or I can't trust people. That might be like a core belief of mine. And I'm just giving a very surface level example here, because a lot of this is surface level. So these kind of things influence how we think. And so I want to give the types of negative thinking. I'm going to tell you all this because I think it's empowering when we know this, because then we can pick it out when we're doing it, because we all do this. So one is like black and white thinking. And it's something like, if it's not perfect, it's a failure. So if I see you, Rachel. So if it's not perfect, then I failed at it. That can really be a negative way of thinking. Catastrophic thinking is one of my favorites, because I do really well now at picking this out. That's the sky is falling. Like, oh my God, the sky is falling. Everything's caving in on me. It's like that worst case scenario. Like if we have one bad thing happen, then everything's just bad. Like the sky is falling. Everything's coming down on us. That was one of my favorite. And I'll tell you, when I have people in my office, I'll say, that's catastrophic thinking. You think the sky is falling, that kind of thing. Negative self-blame, like I'm a failure, I'm flawed, and if people really knew this about me, they wouldn't like me. Okay, that's another negative belief, negative thinking. And the other one is ignoring the positives, like life's just a big disappointment. I'm never going to be happy, but it's ignoring that maybe there were times in your life that you were happy, or maybe there were times that you weren't disappointed, those kind of things. So those are negative thinking. And then one other thing I want to talk about in terms of our stinkin' thinking is an overwhelming negative emotion. And now this is like the Kristen theory, but it comes from a lot of other people who do therapy, like a lot of, if you look it up, Freudish, but this isn't really Freudish. But anyways, so we have a negative emotion that follows us our whole life. And it comes from childhood, but it doesn't mean that we had a bad childhood. I mean, some of us might not have had good childhoods, but it's just a negative feeling. And what happens is it snowballs. And then we come into adulthood, right? And when something happens, it triggers that negative feeling. And it's almost like a snowball. It hits us so hard. And it's really painful. And it kind of takes us out of our game. So I'm going to give examples of negative, that negative feeling. Disappointment is a big one. Abandonment, fear, loneliness. And so what usually happens is, let's say I'll tell you what mine is. Mine is disappointment. So when I feel, if anything happens to me and it kind of takes me out of my game, disappointment's that feeling that kind of captures me. We'll say it's like this, like Grim Reaper, like, covers me in disappointment. Okay. And so I don't feel just disappointment from that little interaction. I feel disappointment from my whole life, So it's kind of like this snowball thing. So what I have really come to understand is that we need to tell ourselves that we're allowed to feel our feelings. So we're allowed to feel, I'll use the disappointment, we're allowed to feel disappointed. But that is not going to last forever, because what happens is when we feel that feeling, it's so uncomfortable and feels so unbearable that we will do anything to get away from it. Sometimes it could be we get in conflict, we eat our emotions, we'll try lots of things to get away from that feeling. But I'll say, if you allow yourself just to experience it a little bit, it's not that bad and it'll go away faster. So I'll give you an example, and it's kind of a little silly, but if I feel that feeling, and I know what it feels like I can feel in my gut when I'm feeling that disappointed feeling, I will say to myself, I'm really disappointed right now, but it's going to be okay. But I'm just really disappointed. I'll allow myself to feel it, but I'm telling you, it goes away. It does not last forever. If we avoid those feelings, then it will feel like a lifetime. It'll feel like so hopeless, So that's kind of that overwhelming negative emotion. It'll chase us. But we can resolve that, actually. We can resolve that by acknowledging when we feel it and then allowing ourselves to feel it, because that allows us to get past it. Okay, so I just told you all this like depressing stuff, right? It's kind of like depressing. But what I want to tell you is about replacing the tape in our head. That's the first thing. So what do you say to yourselves? We're pretty mean to ourselves, aren't we? Like, we can be really mean. We can say really mean things to ourselves. And I'm sure that if I was to say my mean things out loud that I say to myself, people would go, what are you doing? But we can be really, really mean. I want you to start, pinpointing what is triggering that. Like, and honestly, we're doing like a little surface level talk here, but like, you got to replace it. And I'm going to give you an example. So, and I know I'm looking up a little bit. I'm looking at my notes. So I'm really sad right now, but it'll be okay. Right? So I'm telling myself, like, I'm really sad, but it's going to be okay. Or let's say, I'm trying to think of an example. I think I posted a little while ago about, I've been losing a lot of weight and I've been doing really well, but yet, I'll walk by the mirror and that negative me will kind of laugh, like, you don't look that great, So I need to stop that negative thought and go, you're doing pretty darn good. So I need to do that. So we need to catch that negative thought and replace it with a positive. And sometimes it's okay to acknowledge part of the negative, because there's a fear there or a feeling there, like a fear, like I'm going to fail, so I know I'm scared about this, but this, I'm going to do okay. So like, I know I feel really lonely right now, but I'm really not alone. Like I have people in my life who care about me, that kind of stuff. So, that tape is a really big deal of what we tell ourselves. Hold on, what else do I have? And also that tape does come out in other settings. So like Facebook's a really good example, because when we get really frustrated, we want to like vent it, which is normal. We want to connect with people. So we'll see on Facebook, like, and I've done really well at not venting those kind of things. I'll vent them in a smaller forum, but we see people on Facebook who are really having a rough time. But the thing is, it does get better. Like, it doesn't stay rough forever. And I feel confident in saying this because I've been through rough times. Like, it's not like I've been without a rough time and go, it's fine, girl, you got this. No, it really does get better, Okay. So I'm going to tell you guys something really, 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 really valuable. And I feel like this concept is one of the biggest things to empowerment. It's about limit setting. Okay. I don't know how you guys do with limit setting, but it's very, very difficult at first. But once you start doing it, it becomes like second nature. I have key phrases now with my limit setting, and you can steal them. It's fine because we can share. But for example, I will tell you, and this is something that people might not like hearing, but we treat people, or we teach people how to treat us by what we think of ourselves and our behaviors. It doesn't excuse another person's behavior, but we do create certain environments that way. And I want to say that I'm not disregarding like an abusive situation. That's totally different. Okay. So let's just take that out of the equation. But in a lot of times in relationships, we can say work relationships, intimate relationships, we allow certain things because we don't want to make someone mad. And then it keeps happening, and then we get frustrated. But limit setting is one of the healthiest things we can do with another person. So I'm going to give you some examples. One of my key phrases is, I don't feel comfortable with that. And the reason why I like that phrase, like, I don't really feel comfortable with that, is because like Rachel, if I was to say to you, like, I don't feel comfortable with that, you're not going to go, yes, you do. You know what I mean? Like, you can't argue that I feel comfortable with that. But it gives me a chance to take a step back and like think about what's going on. But when I start feeling that, and I don't like conflict, I'm a conflict avoider. If I start feeling something's going on, I just back off. I don't really feel comfortable with that. I have used that I don't feel safe in this situation, even if it's emotionally safe. Like, I use that. And the thing is, that kind of puts people a little bit less offensive, because you're not pointing the finger and saying like, look at you. You're just saying, I don't really feel comfortable with that. And I'm talking about like work. You know what I mean? Like at work, if someone is saying something, I'll say, I don't feel comfortable with that. And I'll tell you, I even had a private message today from somebody that I didn't like. They just were really confrontational with me. And my first response was to be like, you know what, blah, 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 blah. And I wanted to like unfriend them and block them and all this stuff. And I just said, I really don't feel comfortable with what you're saying to me. And that actually disengaged the situation. And we ended up coming back around to it. And they, they let me know it was we had a misunderstanding. That's really what it was. But I set the limit. I don't feel comfortable with that. So that's the first thing, is like, it's okay to not feel comfortable with something and let someone know. It's okay to say no. It's okay to do those things. Like, and sometimes I think sometimes women do this. We think we have to say yes to everything because we are pleasers. We're caretakers. We don't want someone to be mad at us. We just want people to be okay, that kind of thing. So I'll give you one other example of that, is that I, a couple years ago, had a boss that I did not do very well with. And we had like a performance feedback. And in the feedback, she was actually putting me down in the feedback. She was actually insulting me. And so I sat there quietly and I thought, how do I, deal with this issue? And so I said to her, because honestly, what is the gain? You know what I mean? Like, if I tell her off, there's no gain. There's no gain there. Like, that's not what I don't want a conflict. I just want, this to stop, really. And so I ended up saying towards her, like, you're kind of saying some things that are really derogatory, and I don't feel comfortable continuing this conversation. So what I just did there is I let her know the behavior that was bothering me, and then I set the limit. I don't feel comfortable continuing this conversation. So if she chose to continue the conversation, I was not going to engage. So that's what limit setting would look like. So you're saying like, hey, this behavior is doing this. And then you're setting a limit. I don't feel comfortable with that. I don't like that. Or I'm not okay with that. And then you can give like a consequence. Like, if you choose to do that again, then this is going to be my response. So like in relationships, for example, if someone, let's say, is name calling, for example, and I'm just kind of giving broad examples here. I know we're fighting, and like, I know we're angry at each other, but I don't feel comfortable with the name calling. So if you choose to call my name, I'm completely going to disengage, and I'm going to walk away, that kind of thing. Like, and that's, I know it sounds really simplistic and black and white there, and it doesn't always look like that. But the idea is, the more limits we set in a relationship, the more empowered we are in any relationship. So we're saying, I'm not okay with that. I'm setting a limit, and then we have to follow through. Because if we don't follow through, we are teaching people that they can keep doing it. Because, it's almost like, if I always say, I'm going to leave, and I get the keys every time, and I go out to the car and I leave for an hour and I come back, I'm really demonstrating that I'm not going to leave. I'm really demonstrating to the other person that she'll just get really mad and then she'll come back and it'll be fine. That kind of thing. Like I said, I know this is really black and white, but limit setting is such a big deal in empowerment. Because we are in control. So empowerment's a lot about control. We can be in control of situations. Okay. So, if you think about like reward and consequence, people will keep doing things that they feel rewarded for. And so, we can do that in situations to feel empowered. So like, and I know Jeremy's sitting in the other room, so he'll probably hear me. If I like something Jeremy does and I want him to keep doing it, I need to say that really made me feel good. Like I need to reward that, behavior in a way. I need to let him know it made me feel good and then, reciprocate or how he feels good because I want him to keep doing it, It's the same thing with negative things. If someone's doing something negative, we can't reward that behavior. We can either withdraw completely or there can be a consequence. So I hope I'm getting that idea across. So I know I'm talking fast. So mindset is a really big deal. How we view ourselves impacts our interactions with others. So there's a difference between being negative and then being faced with a challenge, right? We all have our challenges. It's how we I talked earlier, how we're going to overcome them. So it's okay to feel it and it's okay to experience a challenge, but then it's what we do within that challenge that makes such a huge, huge difference. So if I think that I'm a failure, if I think I'm ugly, if I think that I'm not worthy or not capable, then everyone else around me will think that I am too. They'll believe what I think. And so we might maybe have a moment where you feel like a failure, but then how are we going to overcome that? How are we going to overcome that feeling? And I'll tell you, there's a saying with AA, it's called meeting makers make it. It's okay to pretend. I'm not saying be fake. I'm saying if you feel like a failure, it's okay to pretend for a little while that you're not a failure because it'll come along. It'll follow you. You'll feel successful. If you feel ugly all the time, it's okay to pretend and go, no, I'm pretty, because you'll start believing it. It's okay to do that.
Fake it till you make it.
Yes, you can fake it till you make it. So there's a difference between you're not being fake, you're still being authentic, but it's okay if you don't fully believe in yourself, but you can start exuding that, and it makes such a difference. It really does. The other thing is success can seem scarier than failure. And the reason why is because a lot of times we're more used to success. We're more used to failure. We know what that kind of looks like. We tell ourselves all the time, oh, I might not do this, that kind of thing. But don't be afraid of the unknown, because success is the unknown. Because what would it look like, right? What would it look like if I was successful? And I would challenge you to say that to yourself, because if you can envision what it looks like, then it'll actually help you reach that. Because we can envision failure pretty well, right? That's easy to envision. But if you envision your success, then that's where you're going to be headed. So don't be afraid of taking risks. Risk taking is the best thing that we can do to grow. Okay. Empowerment. Empowerment is feeling like you have a voice, okay? And it's using your voice. It's feeling like you have resources, and it's using your resources. So I'm not saying that every time we actually have to use our own voices. Sometimes empowerment is using the voices of others around us. Sometimes empowerment is using the system that we're a part of. So, and I'm looking at the clock here. I know I'm going to be cut off pretty soon because we only have 40 minutes of Zoom, right? But I'm going to give you some quick examples. I've used the system a lot of ways for empowerment. I know, Andrew, you've heard my stories of using the legal system in a positive way. If I know the law, then I can utilize the law to get what is right. And Rachel, I'm not sure, I don't know if these examples will, apply at all, but I had a friend who, she got denied for a bariatric surgery. And so she felt really disempowered. And she wrote a long, lengthy letter about what she went through and what she experienced. And, but she felt like she had no voice. She felt like they weren't listening. So I helped her take that experience. And instead, we used the law, the medical law, and the doctor's documentation to use her voice. Because that letter she wrote, as much as it was important, they don't care about that. And I knew that in the system. And so we were able to instead use the law and what she's entitled to for her voice. And she ended up getting surgery. You know, so that was really a good experience. And I've had lots of different ones. I've had people who, you know, maybe we're in situations where we can't use our voice, but I'm a big seed planter. If I feel like something isn't right, I will sort of speak up a little bit, but I'll also go around me and ask people, what do you think? You know, like, do you think this is okay? And if we all kind of think that it's not okay, then maybe we'll kind of join together to think that it's not okay. And that's kind of my style. Okay. So I have a challenge to you guys. You ready? This is my challenge. You are my victims. Just kidding. Okay. My challenge is this. So we all have the ability to mold our lives into what we want. And we all have the ability to make a difference in the life of another. So these are my 2 challenges for the next week. So it's Thursday today. So this is till next Thursday, okay? I challenge you to change one negative thought you may always seem to have and turn it into a positive, okay? So whatever that negative thought is, we're going to turn it into a positive because that's what you're going to start telling yourself every day. If you need help with this, I can help you. And I challenge you to motivate and uplift one random person for the next 7 days. So it could be one person for the whole 7 days or one separate person each day, just to motivate and uplift. It could be, I mean, if you're, you know, you could use social media, you could use Facebook, and you could just like, you know, comment on, you know, and message them, just uplift them, encourage them, that kind of thing. So if you're up for the challenge, message me and let me know. And I want to know the negative thought, and I promise I won't share it, the negative thought that you're getting rid of, okay? And the positive thought you're going to replace it with. And so if you need help with that, I can help you reframe it. And then I also want to know how the 7 days went with either that one random person for the whole 7 days. And we don't want them to know what you're doing. You're just pouring some motivation, and just letting them know things are going to be okay, that kind of thing. So I think we have like 3 minutes left. Do you guys have questions? Did I ramble too much?
No, I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I took 2 pages of notes.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think, Rachel? Oh, I can't hear you.
You might have to.
I unmuted you, but I don't know why I can't hear you. We could do sign language. Okay. Message me, okay? And we'll do it. So I really, really thank you guys for listening. Honestly, there's no gain here for me. I just love talking about this stuff. Like, I could talk about this stuff for a really long time, just because I've seen how a lot of these different things play into people's lives. And I've seen how when it changes, it makes such a huge difference. And it's really beautiful. So, okay, I'm going to end the call. And we can chat more. All right? Got it?
Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys.